Great. Thanks a million, Emma. Now, I think just to check the house, Mary is joining me. Mary is driving the bus in terms of control of the slides. So look, I'm just going to give kind of a kind of run through kind of a national strategic overview to set some context and paint a little bit of kind of the national picture, and then Mary will go into some more detail around Wexford. We'll try and get through it as quickly as we can and leave a good chunk of time for questions. I'm sure there's a few. So we'll try and leave as much time as we can for questions and answers. So we'll kick on, and so just I suppose not really a statement of strategy, but just kind of some draft focus areas that we're looking at, and I suppose just to give a picture of kind of how we're looking at it is that everything has changed in tourism. Obviously, the sector is closed, and because of COVID, and that we need to look at the new future we're now preparing for, and because it's a new future, we need kind of a new set of strategic focus areas, and we have been kind of looking at the WHO 2-year pandemic time frame. And so we've kind of said, look, that broadly speaking, when we look at our strategy, we've got to look at it under 2 time horizons: the short term, which is what we're in at the moment, which is about survival through 2021, and then the medium to long term, which is recovery post pandemic. And we'll be looking at those 2 kind of different time aspects as we go through this. And look, I mean, in terms of, I know for an awful lot of people that they're thinking about next week and the week after and next month and the month after, and when can we open, and when will indoor dining open, what might happen in July, will we have, when will intercounty travel start happening, and they're all very urgent questions, and we're absolutely focused on those. But as the National Tourism Development Authority, we've also got to focus on that longer term stuff. We've got to be working now to put the things in place that's going to help drive that recovery, and not just this year, but next year and the year after and the year after that. So we have to have that kind of focus. Our overall mission as an organization is to support the survival and drive the recovery of the sector in order to maximize sustainable economic, environmental, cultural and social contribution of tourism to Ireland. So just to stay on that for a second, in terms of, just to be clear, we often get referred to as a membership organization and the members of Fáilte Ireland. We're not a membership organization, we're a government organization. We work for all of the people of Ireland. We're funded by all of the money from all of the taxpayers, and the tourism industry are obviously our key partners and key stakeholders. But in terms of our job is around to maximise the contribution of tourism to Ireland, in the same way as the IDA's job is about maximising the foreign direct investment contribution to Ireland. So that's really what we're about. Our vision, I suppose, is to lead the development of a tourism industry that is on its way to making an even bigger and more sustainable contribution to Ireland's economy, society and culture than it did at its previous record level in 2019. And so you'll note in that we normally, when we set a vision, we put a time frame on it. We have no time frame on that because it's too early yet. Hopefully, next year we'll be able to put a time frame on that. But our objective, and we believe this is very possible, is that we will be bigger again than we were in 2019 as a tourism economy. We're just not sure yet when that will be, and it's our vision is obviously to get there as soon as we can. So our top priorities then, short term, it's about the survival of businesses, and with a particular focus on those strategic tourism businesses, and that survival, the survival of those businesses is because if there isn't employers, it'll be much harder to grow employment. And the one thing we're absolutely crystal clear on is that the recovery will be slower if the supply side of the tourism economy has in any way disintegrated or collapsed because of the pandemic. So very much kind of our focus is around trying to do everything we can to help keep the supply side of the tourism economy intact, so that when demand does return, there's businesses there to meet it. Longer term, then I suppose, our ultimate measure, the most important, not the only, but the most important measure we'll be measuring our success on is the number of sustainable tourism jobs, and getting as many, if not more, than the 260,000 people that worked in tourism back into employment in tourism in the longer term. So that's really our priority objectives. Moving on then, and look, there's a lot of text on this slide. I won't go through it in detail, but these are just kind of some of our core principles, and these aren't new, but they won't, and there'll be some small changes to them, but not really. First of all, our VICE-based development approach, and VICE stands for visitor, industry, community, and environment. And everything that we do has got to work on all four of those dimensions. So there's no point in doing something in tourism that the visitor likes and the industry like, but the community don't like, or is bad for the environment. It's global best practice that everything you do, you assess through those four elements to make sure it's right for all four elements. And we will continue to do that. Regionality, in terms of, we do, before COVID struck, we were all about trying to spread the benefit of tourism, maybe to areas that didn't have much tourism before. And it was about trying to, we had some issues in some parts of the country where there was, we were bordering on over tourism. There was a bit of congestion and stuff like that. That's very much a first world problem we don't have anymore now. And effectively, what were tourism hotspots have now become unemployment black spots. So in the short term, our focus has got to be around working in a way that gets as many people back to work as possible. So that does mean that those areas where there was a lot of people employed in tourism, and now there's not an awful lot of people unemployed, we do need to focus more on those. They need our help more to get up and running again. Longer term, we will absolutely get back to that place of where we'll be looking to spread the benefit more, fully around the country. But that sense of getting people who are now out of work back to work has got to be our priority. In terms of seasonality, we once again, longer term, we will get back to trying to spread the tourism season across the full 12 months, grow out the shoulder periods, particularly relevant for Wexford, because of its kind of it's quite a seasonal destination. So we want to have as strong a year-round offering as we can in tourism. We will get there. Initially, I suppose, look, the seasonality is going to be driven by when people are allowed to travel. So in terms of, and we're focusing on that, and that has implications around kind of things we've been working on, things we've invested in, because we want to, in the uncertain world we live in now, there was, we decided back in December, said there's no point, in December, January, said there's no point on planning for festivals, in April, May, June, because we don't know whether they'll be able to go ahead in April, May, June. So, and festivals and things like that take several months to put in place. And if the rug is pulled from you in the last minute, there's nothing you can do about it. So, and you've just burnt your money. Whereas things like domestic marketing campaigns, digital campaigns, TV and stuff, you can switch that stuff on and off really quickly. So it's far more effective to use your money on tools, marketing and demand driving tools like that, that you can switch on quickly and switch off quickly when you've got the uncertain time that we have around public health restrictions. So that's been our focus in the short term. And then, brand building has been our core mechanism, and we will continue to focus on that through, the entire country is covered with our 4 regional experience brands of Ireland's Ancient East, Dublin, Wild Atlantic Way, and Ireland's Hidden Heartlands. And we're going to stay very much kind of focused on leveraging the regional development through those regional experience brands. Moving on then to, in terms of we've decided basically that, in terms of, we looked at how can we best help the tourism sector to survive and recover. And we came up with 8 strategic focus areas. And these are the areas where we want to drive transformational innovation. They won't be the only things we're working on, but they are the areas where we believe we need to drive transformational innovation. And we don't just think this at a national level. We also think these are the 8 areas that every region needs to think about. These are the 8 areas that every county needs to think about. These are the 8 areas that every business needs to think about. So I would say to anyone in the tourism business, have your checklist and look at these following 8 areas and go, in terms of, are you really stepping up your game in these 8 areas? So what those 8 areas are is, first of all, the first one's called Survive to Thrive. And that is about just in the short-term survival and long-term thriving. So how do you sustain your business? So for us, that's around all of the work we do through our business support hub in terms of the training and mentoring, the grant aid that we're able to distribute, all of those supports around how to safely close and safely reopen, and the HR and the finance and the cash flow and stuff. And for businesses, I mean, that is really, firstly about cash, because without cash, you don't have a business, and secondly, it's about people, because once again, without people, you don't have a business. So it's about, say for businesses, that's about, that's kind of very much what we're focused on, the financials and the people side of things. And then, in the long term, we've got to think about, how do we get people back into the tourism industry, because there will be skills gaps and shortages, etc. And in terms of that, will be an area that we'll really need to focus on. The second one is about accelerating domestic tourism and driving a step change in Irish staycations. So, obviously this year is going to be, overwhelmingly about the staycation market. And in terms of, we do think there is an opportunity here, as well as, a challenge to be managed. But there is a lot of people who normally go abroad who staycationed last year and will be staycationing this year. The research we did last year showed that 95% of them were either very or extremely satisfied with their holiday experience that they had here in Ireland. And there's a lot of people kind of rediscovering the joys and pleasures of Ireland as a holiday destination. And we won't keep all of it, for sure. I know there's lots of people, and myself included, that, when things are safe again, would like that little blast of heat and sunshine for a short period of time. But there is, there is a lot of people who will, give more of their holiday spend to the Irish market. And if we can achieve a step change in that, that will be, make a big difference. Before COVID struck, there was about 5.5 billion was spent by overseas tourists in Ireland, and Irish people spent about 5.5 billion going abroad on holidays. So it was, from a balance of payments point of view, it was about equal. But if we could just get, and Irish people spent about 2.8 billion holidaying in Ireland. So if we could just get, 1 billion of what Irish people spend abroad, or 20%, transferred into the Irish market, it would be like a 35 to 40% growth in domestic revenue into Irish businesses. So, we do think there's a good opportunity to do that, but we've got to get the offering right to do that, in terms of all year round, in terms of orientation towards domestic families, pricing, the type of experience offered, etc. But look, I think, Wexford is very good at that. Better than some areas in terms of the staycation market, but the challenge for Wexford is probably about extending out that season, and getting more of it in the shoulder periods. The third one then is opening the outdoors, and we're all living outdoors these days, in so many ways. And our research says that a lot of that will stay post-COVID, and that's just not an Irish thing. It is a global phenomenon, in terms of people are spending a lot more times outdoors around the world and discovering a new love for the outdoors. And when we say opening the outdoors, we mean both urban and rural, and we mean both daytime and nighttime. So we want to, and we're working across all of those areas in terms of, we have fabulous outdoors in Ireland, but, and we've fabulous scenery and we've fabulous towns and stuff. But, quite often we're missing just that last little bit of magic to make that into a really good visitor experience, whether that's, the right signposting on a walking trail, or whether that's, a little bit of lighting or street furniture in a town, or a nice bit of public realm to sit in to enjoy the historic buildings, etc. So, there's I think huge untapped opportunity for us still in really becoming a world-class outdoor destination. And the good thing about the Irish climate is that it doesn't get too hot and it doesn't get too cold. Now, yes, it is probably a little bit wetter than we'd all like it, but in terms of there is we do have a year-round relatively temperate climate, which means that you can enjoy the outdoors for most of the year. The fourth element of our pillars is digital that delivers. And this really is about kind of transforming the Irish tourism online presence and e-commerce capability. And this is an area where, some parts of the Irish industry are pretty good, but there's some parts that are well below the best in the world. And particularly in the activities and attraction space. And they're so important because they're some of the things that cause people to come to Ireland, and come to a location, come to a destination and look at it. But finding them online is really difficult. And if you can't find them online, you don't know they're there, and therefore you're less likely to go to an area. So, in terms of, we really want to work and support businesses to transform the presence and capability of all those businesses in terms of through all of the different digital channels. And that's about websites, it's about social media, it's about connected distribution as well into all of the important kind of online sales platforms, etc. Business to business as well as business to consumer, etc. So that's a very big transformation that we're going to be working on over the next number of years. But that requires sustained investment and development. We've had experience in the past in this where in terms of grants have been given to businesses to go build their own websites, etc. And we've gone back 6 or 9 months later and the website is out of date, it hasn't been maintained, and that's no use, that's just throwing money away. So in terms of, this has got to be a sustained and holistic approach that will lead to a significant change, and a change that stays up to date and stays up to speed with all of the changing technology. And obviously, in terms of just as we're doing this online this morning, we all know how much the world has changed, and people have said in the last 10 months the digital revolution has moved on as much as it did in the previous 10 years. So, the importance of businesses being online and having the right online presence is huge. And we all know there's stuff that we didn't do online before that we do online now, that we're going to keep doing online, even when we don't have to anymore. When we go back to face-to-face, there will be, we've learned new habits, and we've learned, the convenience of that, and a lot of that will stick. So really important that that businesses have that online presence. The next pillar we talk about is preparing the pipeline. And this is just really about that pipeline of future international business for when it's safe for international travel to come back again. We want to have, all of the things in place to give us the best chance of having that pipeline as full as possible. And, for us in Fáilte Ireland, that's everything from, doing everything we can to secure as many, conferences and business events and incentive trips, etc. It's about working on ideas for new visitor attractions and for festivals and things like that that are going to be attractive to the international visitor, as well as supporting the industry in terms of getting their offering right and getting their marketing and presence right to kickstart that. Obviously, our colleagues in Tourism Ireland, who look after the international marketing of both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland together on an island of Ireland basis, they obviously, have got their campaigns for international marketing ready to go, to prime that demand for as soon as it's safe for them to restart that marketing. But this work for us in Fáilte Ireland is about kind of trying to help the industry to be ready to plug into that and get the benefit of that as much as possible, and convert the interest that generates into actual sales and cash in cash registers. The next one then is probably a little bit further away from people's considerations right now, but it is really important, which is about reducing the carbon footprint of the tourism sector. I was on a call recently with the most senior civil servant in the country, Martin Fraser, the Secretary General to Taoiseach. And when we're speaking about, in terms of the big changes that, at a, big strategic changes at a country level, the first thing he spoke about was the Climate Action Bill. He said that was an incredibly profound piece of legislation. It kind of got lost a little bit in the media because of COVID and stuff like that, but it was a hugely profound piece of legislation that is committing the country to a really aggressive set of targets and actions on climate change, and reducing the carbon footprint of the country. So this is going to have to be absolutely part of the recovery. We're going to have to come back greener and more sustainable than we were in future. Obviously, from our planet demands it, our children and our children's children demand it, but there's also now a legislative mandate that's going to drive policy and all throughout all arms of government. I'm sure it's going to drive economic and fiscal policy. It's going to drive all sorts of policies to get that carbon footprint down. So something we've all got to be very conscious of. The next one is stay safe, and this is about ensuring that we've got best-in-class fire-safe tourism sector for visitors, workers, and community. And obviously last year we launched the Failte Ireland COVID Safety Charter. We've over 5,000 businesses signed up for that. That is obviously still really important, and will probably be important for quite a while. There will be people who will be nervous about traveling, nervous about the safety standards, etc. So, once again, at a business level, really important. Can't stress that enough in terms of that. You will, if people don't feel that the guidelines are being adhered to, that they're safe in terms of that. I hear it myself, kind of from talking to various people that have come back and said, "Oh, I didn't like being in that shop. There was too many people," or "I didn't like walking down that street. There was too many people," or "People weren't social distancing," or "There was too many people. People weren't wearing their masks with their noses sticking out or supporting their chins or whatever, doing no good at all." So there's going to be a lot of nervousness around that. So, really important, not just from a health point of view, but from a visitor point of view and from a consumer need point of view, that people really stay focused on that safety message and on those safety practices. And we're going to stay supporting that. And then the final one is just kind of supporting all of them. For us is about just making sure we deliver everything, in a best-in-class manner, as efficiently and effectively as we can. So that's they're the kind of the eight pillars that we talk about, or the 8 kind of strategic focus areas. I think, Mary, you're going to pick it up from here and go to
yep.
bring it to Wexford.
I am. Thanks, Paul. Good morning, everyone. Paul has given you an overview of Failte Ireland's future strategic focus. So I'm going to talk about what this means for Wexford in terms of how we've been working with industry at business level and at destination level to help them deal with the challenges of COVID. As an immediate response to help tourism businesses survive, Failte Ireland established an online COVID-19 business supports hub. And here industry can access a wide range of different business supports and training webinars. These supports include information and templates on business planning, preparing for meetings with banks, managing HR risk, maintaining customer relationships. And look, we know the difficulties that businesses have been experiencing due to repeated closures and uncertainty around reopening. And our feedback is telling us that industry are really finding this support hub really beneficial. In the last year, we've been working closely with Wexford industry, providing mentoring and training, both individually and as a collective. We've also developed 11 different guidelines to help various industry sectors reopen. Paul has just mentioned we've created the COVID Safety Charter, which offers consumers research when they're choosing a holiday destination, reassurance, I should say, when they're choosing a holiday destination. And our most recent research is telling us that safety continues to be a high priority for consumers. Last year, we established the Wexford Destination Recovery Task Force in partnership with Wexford County Council. Representatives from each of the tourism sector groups sit on this, and our priority has been to deliver a coordinated response to create resilience and support recovery in Wexford. And we've collaborated and agreed on a number of priority tactical actions to help drive demand in Wexford this year. Failte Ireland is leading out on the delivery of a number of these activities. And to that end, we've created a programme of business supports for industry to help them maximise the opportunities for their businesses. This programme is currently underway, and we're working with 30 different tourism businesses to ensure that they're ready to take full advantage of the domestic market by having a variety of new and enhanced visitor experiences that are going to influence consumers to choose Wexford not only in July and August, but also from September through to December. And our consumer research is telling us that visitors this year are now looking for activity and outdoor experiences. These are the key motivators, but they're also looking for lots of other exciting things to do in the holiday destination, including food, evening, nighttime experiences. And look, Wexford is really posed to take full advantage of this with the wide range of walking trails, beautiful beaches, outdoor activities, visitor attractions, and its great food provenance. Nature and outdoor activity are seen as being the key drivers, with what we refer to as a new target market segment referred to as the unconstrained adults or under 45s. And like they're more inclined to explore new places with groups of friends and are looking for exciting outdoor activities. To increase dwell time, we need a variety of evening and nighttime experiences, and Paul has just mentioned this. This is really important in terms of getting the overnight. There's also a huge opportunity in the family market to drive short breaks across the season this year, as research again is telling us that people are going to take more than one break. And again, Paul was referencing, Wexford does so well high season, but we're going to be working with industry to get them to focus on positioning the county as a year-round destination. And this is going to be really important to help businesses survive in the next 2 years as we wait for the international markets to fully recover. And another opportunity is Wexford's proximity to Dublin's large population base. And this presents it with a great opportunity to drive year-round short stay visits. This is the programme of business supports that I was just speaking about. It has 8 different modules, and they're designed to help drive growth in tourism businesses this year by helping participants create new saleable visitor experiences, as well as building business acumen by leveraging marketing assets, market channels, and resources to drive revenue. And these businesses are also going to be working on creating 3- and 4-night holiday packages to position Wexford as a key short stay destination in the domestic market this year. The supports are tailored to meet the different developmental needs of businesses. And we're also organising a large online networking event for Wexford industry on May the 17th. We're investing considerable resources this year again in our domestic marketing campaign. As well as benefiting from an extensive national campaign, the Ireland's Ancient East region will have its own individual campaign, which includes TV ad, radio, print media, and an extensive digital campaign. And look, I'm really delighted to say that Wexford will have its own TV ad and county communications strategy this year. We want Wexford businesses to align their individual marketing plans with our campaigns to build greater awareness of the destination and its products. And Visit Wexford and Wexford County Council are currently working with us in this respect. Looking then at the longer and medium-term strategic objectives, and we're continuing to work with industry and Wexford County Council in terms of building that long-term development plan for Wexford. So these include capital investment in creating world-class visitor attractions that are going to increase the appeal of Wexford to both domestic and the international market when they return. Last week saw the announcement of funding under our Platforms for Growth programme for the development of a new facility centre at Curracloe Beach. These new facilities will include hot showers, changing and restrooms, as well as washing facilities for equipment. And we anticipate that these are going to provide new business opportunities and help extend the tourism season. We're also going to be working with tourism businesses to ensure that they're ready to take full possession of the New Ross Greenway, which will come on stream next year. And we've a number of business supports in the pipeline. Later this year, we're going to start the process of creating a 5-year destination experience development plan for Wexford. This plan will identify new opportunities to sustainably grow the economic value of tourism, as well as providing the framework for the future tourism destination development in partnership with industry and all key stakeholders. Working with Wexford County Council, we've successfully secured Category 1 rural regeneration development funding for the New Ross regeneration project. And this is going to include the development of a new Norman visitor attraction, New Ross, as well as some refurbishment work to the Dunbrody Famine Ship and some enhancements to the existing visitor experience. Again, in partnership with Wexford County Council, we've received Category 2 funding to bring new large-scale visitor experiences to shovel-ready stage at Hook Lighthouse and the Irish National Heritage Park. And through our Destination Town Fund, we're investing 500,000 in improving visitor flow and orientation in New Ross. And this will increase dwell time in the town and have a positive impact in terms of driving economic growth. We've also launched our outdoor dining scheme, and this is available to private businesses through and will be administered through the local authority. And as well as that, the local authority will be able to benefit from funding to enhance outdoor dining facilities in urban centres. I hope this presentation has given you an overview of Failte Ireland's commitment to supporting Wexford tourism industry and to the ongoing development of Wexford as a key tourism destination. And I thought I'd just finish the presentation. I'm going to play the Ireland's Ancient East video, which will be used this year as part of the domestic campaign.
You might think you know Ireland's ancient East, but maybe it's time for a closer look. An extraordinary glimpse of the oldest of stories. Where the road is less travelled, and there's treasure to be found. Where spectacular sights await your eyes. Battles are won, legends are born, and the adventurous spirit always rewarded. Where time travel is no longer a fantasy, and magical castles lie just round the bend.
I can't believe there's Vikings in Wexford. I know, it's mad, isn't it?
Keep discovering Ireland's ancient East.
So thank you very much. I'll now hand you back to Emma.
Thanks very much, both Mary and Paul, for a very informative presentation. I think it was definitely welcomed by all this morning. So we'll just allow some time for questions now. I just see in the chat box there, Billy Byrne had a question. Billy, did you want to come in and ask that question yourself there?
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, look, it's actually a question. It's on behalf of the Mayor of Wexford. Actually, he unfortunately was unable to attend the meeting today, and he just sends his apologies. He've other commitments, but he's just wondering. Actually, is there any update on when the tourism office in Wexford Town is going to be open to visitors to get the information about the county here, and considering, I suppose, the fact that it didn't open at all last year. So maybe if there's an answer to that question on behalf of the Mayor. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I can pick that up. We haven't made any decision yet around reopening of any of the tourist information offices. We are waiting to see further news on the government roadmap and reopening times, etc., and see what the implications of that are. I think a couple of points to speak to last year, in terms of some of this information is still absolutely relevant. Is over 90% of the people that come into the tourist offices around the country are overseas visitors. It is a service that is massively proportionately used by overseas visitors, and very rarely used by domestic visitors. Domestic visitors tend to go online an awful lot more, and therefore, last year we take a holistic view to providing the best information in the way that the visitor wants it. And last year we massively overhauled discoverireland.ie, and it won the best website of the year in Ireland award. So which we're delighted with, and is now a fantastically powerful tool. It works really well at driving, not just kind of giving people information, but driving referrals to businesses, etc. And also we're working on a whole range of alternative mechanisms, and I think one of the best ones that we've trialed was actually first trialed in Gorey in the Circle K with a tourism information point, where we distributed more information to tourists through the Circle K point in Circle K garage in Gorey than we had distributed through almost all the tourist offices together in the southeast of the country, because we were people didn't have to go out of their way to get to us. They found us where they were traveling through. So it's a holistic approach to tourist information we've got to take. We've got to and that's what we'll be looking at, in terms of our staff from our tourist information offices have all been out the door busy, predominantly working on processing grant applications for businesses, in terms of helping to get much needed money and support into businesses. We've needed those people to do that, and that was last year, that was the reason we took that decision. And we are obviously still working on all that stuff. So they're just some of the considerations that will come into play, but we haven't made any decision yet about any of the tourist information offices, and we'll be waiting to see what the government reopening roadmap is, and also in terms of looking at that holistic view around tourist information provision.
And maybe just one additional bill for me on this is, we're actually going to be rolling out our local experts program, and the actual first program is going to be run in Wexford I think it's at the end of May, and we'll be sharing details about that with you. And of course, the heavyweight marketing and communications campaign that I've just spoken about, Wexford will be to the fore of that in terms of promoting it as a destination this summer and for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, just on the local experts, we've rolled that out. I think Sligo and Limerick were the first places we rolled out, but we've rolled out in a lot of other places now. And it's what effectively it does is it trains loads of people who the visitor comes across in the course of their travel. We've had everything from guards to postmen to lots of people who obviously work in restaurants and bars and hotels and visitor attractions, etc. And by training those people to effectively be walking tourist information points, it's far more effective, because once again, these are the people that the visitor is bumping into just by being in a location as opposed to having to go somewhere specifically for information. They're getting it closer to them, and it's that visitor-centric approach is what we're trying to maximize on.
Thanks, Paul and Mary. Tom, did you want to come in further on your point there about the Wexford Trails brand?
Hi, good morning, Emma. Yeah, just to mention it there, Paul was talking about the digital that delivers, and it just reminded me of the adventure activity trail that's soon to be launched. Some of the members, I think, are on the meeting this morning, but that will certainly help, because there will be a strong online presence for that. The other thing, I suppose, just to mention, and when we talk about grant aid, a new leader program just commenced at the beginning of this month. Wexford has around just over €2 million for projects. Probably about 50% of that will go to businesses, and I'd envisage that around $500,000 will go to the tourism sector. So if there's anybody there with niche tourism businesses, Leader is open for business now. There's grant aid of up to 75% available for capital and marketing supports, so that's quite significant. It's there from now until the end of 2022. I know businesses are more in a survival mode, and Leader is a longer term approach, I suppose, but it's something for people to bear in mind. We're working with quite a lot of very enthusiastic people at the moment, despite the negativity, I suppose, that has been in the industry for the last year. It's great that there are some people who are driving forward and who can see a life beyond COVID. So Wexford Local Development, if anyone wants to contact us about Leader for that, feel free. I'll put the email in the chat line. Thanks, Emma.
Thanks, Tom. Colm Neville, you had a question there. Did you want to come in on it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much. I suppose my question is a little bit around the emphasis that's currently on the outdoor experience. And the grants for that. I'm just anxious to see if Failte Ireland's view, I suppose, is that that's a transitionary period, because a lot of businesses have obviously invested a lot of money in social distance measures and barriers within their premises last year. And obviously there's lots of businesses that don't even have the opportunity to go outdoors as well. So I suppose it's really on behalf of all of them, when you hear an awful lot of noise, if you like, about the outdoor and everything being outdoor and outdoor dining. We've obviously got Irish weather, and despite what Paul says, evening time dining is definitely a challenge outdoors in Ireland. Even in July, it can be quite nippy, and it can be quite difficult to keep the customer comfortable. So therefore, I just wanted to check that is a transitionary emphasis, I guess, and that we will be most likely returning to indoor, safe and social distanced dining a little later in the summer, I presume.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, Colm, and thanks for the question. Look, I mean, we don't know anything more than anyone else knows in the media about what might reopen by when at this stage. In terms of my view on the outdoor dining is that I can't see how tourism and hospitality can reopen in any meaningful way without indoor dining reopening. I can't see how you'd be serving room service breakfast to everyone, or else you'd be putting people outdoors for breakfast in your hotels, kind of thing. So on top of lunch and dinner sort of thing. So look, I don't think very many people would want to go to visit a destination if there was no indoor dining there. And we're certainly making that point, in terms of we're not the health experts. We're not calling shots about when things reopen. We're just pointing out into government the economic realities and the visitor realities, and saying, look, just understand this is the impact of that stuff. So, and we are making that point strongly that, in terms of, indoor dining is an essential element for domestic tourism. So don't think you can have much of a tourism economy without indoor dining, because most people, I think, would say, "Fact that I'm just going to stay at home." So we're very much pushing that. my view on outdoor dining is I would, hopefully it will be relatively short term. Hopefully we'll be in a scenario where, outdoor dining might open up maybe a month before indoor dining. And look, I'm just speculating here, please, there's no messaging in this at all. But, and if that is the case, that outdoor opens up a month before indoor and people have invested in outdoor, now they can get some grant support from us, obviously up to 75%, but they still need to put in a little bit of money themselves and put the work into it. But if people have done that, my view on that is that when indoor opens, it will probably once again open with social distancing measures, as you mentioned, Colin. So having the outdoor will increase the capacity, the total capacity of a premises when the indoor is open as well. So you'll be able to do a bit more than you would have been able to do if you were just stuck on indoor. So that's kind of my view. And I think then, over time, I think people will still want, that outdoor experience. I see lots of people that are enjoying sitting out in the fresh air. Yeah, they need to keep their fleece on, or they need to keep their coat on, and the evening time they'll need the heaters, and they might need a blanket on their knees and stuff like that. But in terms of there is still that element. So I think of people who enjoy that experience and want that experience. Now it won't be for everybody, for sure. So I think that, in terms of, I don't think that, even post-COVID, any investment that people have made in outdoor dining, I think will still be an asset worth having. So I think hope that answers the question.
Perfectly, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Colin. I have a question just from a member that unfortunately couldn't make it this morning in relation to the business continuity scheme that was developed after 12 months to help small operators in the hospitality sector. The threshold is a nonsense, and not everyone is entitled to PUP payment. This is an issue that has been raised for all businesses, including those who do not pay rates but provide an important strategic service that attracts lots of people but fall below the 50K annual turnover. What could be done for these businesses?
Yeah, look, I mean, people, we get money under, for certain purposes, under certain uses, and we're only one part of the, the wide range of government supports that have been put in place. There is no connection whatsoever between the business continuity money that Fáilte Ireland has been given and the eligibility for PUP. In terms of, if someone should be eligible for PUP and they're not eligible for PUP, then that's a matter they need to take up either with Department of Social Welfare or, with their political representatives if there's an issue there. But, in terms of, I know there's been a lot of hard work done in trying to make that fair and design it. And as my understanding is that the vast majority of the kinks and the issues that were originally there have now all been ironed out. But so there's no connection between our scheme and PUP at all. The business continuity funding that we got, we were given very specifically to try as best as we could for strategic tourism businesses, and I'll talk about that in a moment, for strategic tourism businesses to who didn't qualify for the CRSS funding. So, and to fill those gaps. And there's a lot of, I know, for example, in Wexford, there's a lot of visitor attractions that were set up as not-for-profits. And this, because the CRSS is effectively a tax rebate system, they weren't able to get any money from the CRSS because of the legislative framework that was set up and under. So therefore, we, through our scheme, were able to give them money to be the equivalent of what they would have gotten if they're on CRSS. Now, both CRSS and our scheme are very much about trying to help businesses offset fixed costs that they have. They are not income supplements. There's no reason why someone who works in tourism should get a higher income supplement than a hairdresser or a retail worker or anyone like that. As much as we in tourism would like them to do that, that would be unfair. So our strategic tourism business continuity scheme is not about supplementing anyone's income. So any connection to PUP or anything like that is not appropriate. It's about fixed costs. Our research indicated to us that you know, in terms of there were very, very few businesses, if any, that had significant fixed costs whose turnover was less than 50,000 euros. Because if a business turnover is less than 50,000 euros, it is very hard to see how a business could pay any employees, you know, and also cover fixed costs. You know, so that, I suppose, is the core issue. So our money is about trying to, and strategic tourism businesses are, you know, in terms of those businesses that will lead to the biggest impact in terms of employment in an area, both employment in their own business and also employment in the wider tourism economy. And that's kind of how we look at strategic. So as a mechanism for that, you know, the 50,000 threshold was something not only set by Fáilte Ireland, but also by the Department of Enterprise and Trade, as a way of trying to make sure that we focus on those businesses. Now, obviously, no one in government has as much money as we would all like to have to support as many people as much as we would like to support them. You know, in terms of, so, you know, we're all obviously limited by the amount of money that we have. You know, and that's why, you know, you know, there is the wide range of supports that are there, but all of them are kind of constrained by the budget available. So look, that's the position with regards to the you know, why that threshold is there, and because it is really about kind of fixed costs, and it is hard to see how a business can have any kind of significant fixed costs when their turnover is less than 50,000, given, you know, what the average industrial wage is, etc.
Okay, Paul, and just on that point, before I move to the next question, what are the plans to continue these supports? You know, I suppose business operation costs will be higher with cleaning, screening, etc. You know, the tourism industry will need supports for the remainder of this year at least, as many businesses will see their lockdown debts threaten their long-term viability.
Yeah, there is a tourism and hospitality forum that you know, the vast majority of the tourism businesses are represented by their sectoral bodies on, and I sit on that as well. That is chaired by the Taoiseach and by the Minister for Tourism, Art, Sports, Media and the Gaeltacht. And you know, we've had conversations around that forum about the need to continue the supports, and as the language I use is that it's not just about supporting businesses to reopening, it's supporting them through reopening. It is going to take people a while to get back to revenue levels, particularly in the absence of overseas visitors. And as you say, there will be increased costs there as well. So, you know, in terms of and the government have been clear that there won't be a cliff edge. And I know that almost everyone in tourism, you know, in a tourism business right now feels like they're already over the cliff edge, clinging on by their fingernails, kind of thing, in terms of survival. But but the government have said with regards to those supports that they won't be, you know, withdrawing them, you know, in a cliff edge style. So we're constantly advocating for that, constantly kind of doing analysis, pointing out where we think that those supports need to be continued, where they need to be adjusted, etc. But you know, I think there will be a national economic plan that probably, the dates keep moving, but the latest I think it might come, you know, latest I'm hearing is that it might come out in June, and I think, you know, that you know, people will want to know what happens after June 30th, and we're also arguing that, you know, in terms of businesses are trying to plan their cash flow, they're trying to have conversations with their banks. So it's not just about saying it's not just about kind of telling businesses you're going to have support still going on July 1. We're saying don't leave it till the 30th of June to tell them that. If you can tell them earlier, because that helps those cash flow forecasting and those conversations with banks, etc. So we're advocating as hard as we can on that, but we don't have any further clarity with regards to our own funding. You know, in terms of we've kind of designed, you know, our own funding is once again kind of, we're designing it to be in parallel to the supports up until the end of June. So we're, you know, as we're saying, look, if CRSS is continuing, which we think it should, we're saying then that that we would, we need to get equivalent funding to continue to support those businesses that don't qualify for CRSS, etc. So look, fortunately, I don't have any more clarity at this stage on that.
Okay, Paul, thanks. And Mags, you had your hand raised there.
Good morning, Emma. Paul and Mary, thanks for those two very informative presentations. I think we need as much information as possible as we can get at the moment. I just want to ask a question, I suppose, because we have a number of clients who are looking, or not just in Wexford, but in other counties too, who are over the last 12 months looking at diversifying, like every tourism business has had to, but also developing other resources that they have, and in some ways turning them on their head. And one thing that's come into play hugely is fitting into the the outdoor tourism space, which I'm delighted to see that as a focus for Failte Ireland, and I think it's a really progressive move, and it's the right thing. Just in line with that focus, and also in line with the focus of reducing the carbon footprint, which again I'm delighted to see happening. Will there be specific funding initiatives, I suppose, Paul, to support businesses who are either established and are diversifying their offering now in a way that will run in those spaces, or are bringing new concepts to the fore that are viable, that can play a key role in developing both of those pieces as an overall strategy?
Yeah, there's a range of things going on. So in terms of a lot of our funding kind of goes into putting in place the enabling infrastructure. So just recently that announcement on Curracloe Beach for the water sports, that will not only support those activity providers that are there, but we hope when we do those facilities that it will other people to the changing facilities and everything there, and all they need is, if you like, kind of their van full of their own equipment to rock up and start and then start kind of providing a visitor experience of some kind with all those. So we're hoping that in terms of those type of facilities lead to that. We've invested hugely with our partners in the Department of Rural and Community Development through the Outdoor Recreation and Infrastructure Scheme, where there's lots of trails being developed. We're supporting our colleagues in the Department of Transport and all the local authorities on the greenways, and there's some obviously very exciting stuff with the new Ross Greenway in Wexford. And then I know that the team in the local authority have got lots of other plans and ideas on how to extend greenways in Wexford, and in terms of we will be as supportive as we can of those. So, and once again, they just create opportunities for people to set up businesses, whether it's bike hire or a cafe or a little walking tour off a greenway point or something, in terms of all of that creates those opportunities. But in addition to that, we will be supporting those businesses, and Mary outlined the extensive suite of kind of training supports that are there, and there's a lot in there for helping activity providers with sales and marketing. And interesting, one of the areas we're just looking at is not really relevant this year, but more so for next year probably, is to look at a program to help people who are starting up in the area completely, who maybe, for example, have a passion for kayaking, but say, how do you turn your passion into your profession, and how do you turn it into a kayaking business? So, I mean, as I say, right now, our focus is on trying to get those people that were previously working in the sector back working in the sector. But, in terms of, as we go forward, we want to try and continue to grow that. And then, the digital that delivers, once again, activities, and those outdoor activities are going to be a real focus for us to help make sure those people have got their, and those businesses have got the training, the support, and the funding. There will be grant aid available in time through that scheme as well, to get their online presence as good as it can be.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Just two more questions there before we wrap it up. A question came in: what does the outdoor dining grant cover spend on design and print services?
No, simple.
Okay.
No, I mean, because look, I mean, a business would need to do design and print services themselves. I mean, you know, so, but it does cover, you know, the list, you know, the tables, chairs, awnings, umbrellas, heaters. You know, it's also, it's important. It's a capital fund now. You know, when we get money from government, and when government have got rules that they've got to comply with the EU. They're allowed to spend so much money on current spending and allowed to spend so much money on capital spending. And capital spending is much more restrictive. And we've got to be able to show, and I've got to be able to stand up in front of the Public Accounts Committee or the Controller or an Auditor General and be able to, you know, be able to answer a question. That grant that was given to that business was out of your capital fund. So can you go and show me documented evidence that that money was spent on capital assets, not current expenditure? And you know, in terms of, so I need to go and retrieve those documents and prove that, etc. That's so that's, you know, that there is complications around that capital funding, and so it's got to be spent on those things. And you, if we did, you know, we don't. There's more capital funding available. But, you know, in terms of the government's got more freedom to spend capital money than it has current money. But it does mean there's conditions applied. If we tried to do that stuff out of current money, we'd have way less money to do it with.
Okay, Paul, thanks. Edmund Connolly, did you want to come in with your question there?
Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm with the Southeast Regional Skills Forum. Thanks very much to Wexford Chamber and indeed Paul and Mary from Failte Ireland. Very informative session. My question just relates, Paul, you mentioned there, you've a lot, and I think it was actually Mary mentioned that, you know, your campaigns and initiatives to promote tourism in the Southeast and in Wexford. But I think also in parallel, there's going to be a big challenge from what I'm hearing anecdotally from businesses to encourage staff back into the hospitality sector, particularly to hotels and restaurants. And they've lost a lot of staff to other sectors like food retailing, and they mightn't get them back. So there's going to be so could you include a message in addition to that, you know, Wexford in the Southeast is an attractive place to visit, that it's also offers attractive employment opportunities and that there's opportunities to upskill and reskill and so forth, because I think that message is going to have to get out there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Look, that is a really important area. It's about kind of timing and getting the messaging right in the right channels at the right time. So we are continuing to work on promoting careers in tourism, but right now our primary focus is on trying to get you know, people into the third level courses on careers in tourism and having those conversations. We've got people out, you know, doing Zoom calls with schools and engaging with TY coordinators and careers advisors and stuff like that to try and keep the number of people going into tourism careers and third level in tourism courses as high as we possibly can. We had a huge campaign ready to, it was going to launch. It was due to launch on the day after St. Patrick's Day on the 18th of March last year, promoting a TV ad, big campaign promoting careers in tourism. It was one of those campaigns that obviously we pulled at the last minute because everyone was being laid off. And it wouldn't be the right time yet to go out and do that, you know, in terms of, in terms of once things are open again for a while and there's stability and there's confidence and people can kind of go, right, COVID is behind us now, there is job opportunities, etc. in that space, then we will be out promoting it hard again in terms of at a national level. We'll be promoting that concept of getting into careers in tourism, and we'll be continuing to work. And we're working, there is the Careers in Hospitality Careers Oversight Group that has got all of the educational institutions, ETBs, SOLAS, Department of Education, the industry bodies and ourselves all working on a coordinated way to to have a holistic program to address those skill gaps. And I know one of the things that is immediately in train is if you like, kind of a portal to try and really help people to quickly connect with job opportunities and staff to help businesses reopen, where people who've got skills can find people looking for those skills, and people who are looking for particular skills can find people who have them. So there's a lot of work going on in that space at the moment, and that will ramp up again when things get a little bit more stable in terms of reopening.
Thanks, Paul. Danny Hughes just had a question. What grants and supports are available to B&Bs?
Now, B&Bs are entitled to the CRSS. So that is the key. In addition to EWSS and PUP, there has been kind of restart grants, and we've administered restart grants for B&Bs last year. But the core support now is the EWSS and the CRSS scheme, and that B&Bs can access.
Thanks, Paul. I suppose just before we conclude and wrap it up, we know there's just about 20 billion in savings out there. How can we ensure that this money is spent in County Wexford? I suppose just kind of give a summary of the takeaway points today that businesses should, and I suppose help prepare for an incredibly busy summer.
Yeah, you'd settle for 19 of the 20 billion, would you? leave a little bit for some of the other counties. The people in Laois and Kilkenny will need a little bit of soccer after you beat them in hurling in the draw this morning. Yeah, look, I think the points we made around around getting the outdoor offering, getting the digital presence, really engaging in all of the training and the help and the support and the insights. So in terms of we've got more, we've been able to put kind of more money into researching the domestic consumer and their need than we've ever been able to do before. So we've loads of really useful insights around what are people looking for, etc. Obviously, we don't have time to kind of go through them all this morning, but in terms of all of that stuff is available through Mary and her team and through the failteireland.ie website. So I'd say it's just really kind of stay plugged in with us, and as well as focusing on those on those 8 things I said just this morning around focus on domestic. Get your outdoor experience great, get your digital experience great, make sure you're offering a safe and be seen. If anyone hasn't signed up to the safety charter, I really advise you to do it. It will be a very reassuring thing for visitors to see. And then in time, working on that carbon footprint side. But look, that's probably not going to be a huge factor driving people's decisions this summer. So there's some of just the key things.
Great. Thanks again. And look, thank you, Paul and Mary, for a very informative presentation this morning. We certainly won't keep you any longer, but look, it was welcomed by all in attendance this morning and for answering all the questions that were raised. Look, if any businesses has any additional questions, you can send them across to myself and we can refer back to Mary or Paul. So look, once again, thanks everyone for joining this morning, and it's great to see so many in attendance. And look, we want to wish everyone the very best of luck and hopefully reopening our economy in the coming weeks. And please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any of the chamber team on any issues or further supports you may need. So thanks again, everyone, and in particular to Paul and Mary for a great presentation this morning.
Thanks very much for your time and the opportunity, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.